thought it might be helpful to have a personal example of the valley of dependence, so I'll tell you a little bit about mine. In my early 20s, I was involved, this is my natural promotion part beforehand, I was involved in this great church, growing, and all kinds of neat things happening, and people joining, and I was in a band that was traveling around the country doing worship renewal, and everything seemed like it was going onward and upward, and in a few years I would be fulfilling my call and changing the world. Well, things didn't turn out quite that way. I got a hold of this book, and the guy's thesis was that in the early church, nobody but the apostles led anything for the first 5 or 10 years because you got to get sanctified before you can lead. Now, whatever you think of the guy's theology, at that point I took it seriously. So I started praying, God, take the next 5 years of my life and just sanctify me. And my picture of that was this great onward and upward path that God would be sanctifying and releasing me at the same time, and soon I'd be, preaching to the thousands and whatever. Well, what actually happened was God answered that prayer in a way I didn't expect. Things in my life started coming to an end. And often in valleys, what you see is that your doing is reduced. Things come to an end, or there's loss, and that puts you in a position where you begin to ask fundamental questions about life and rethink your identity. And that's what happened to me. The band disbanded. My small group that I was leading decided they weren't having a good small group experience, and they disbanded, and that was a little bit of a blow. And then at that point in life, I was sort of addicted to disciplines. My sense of being right with God came from having my hour of prayer every day, and my Bible study plan, and my financial plan, and my yearly goals, and my monthly goals. Excuse me, I had all of that stuff lined out perfectly. And God just sort of removed His grace from that, and I couldn't do it anymore. And I found myself in a very difficult place of feeling lost, feeling confused. My life wasn't working the way that I thought it was supposed to. I couldn't do it. I couldn't live the Christian life as I saw it. And it took me about 2 years to get to the bottom of that. And I made this a lot more painful than it needed to be, because I didn't understand my season or what God was doing. When I finally came to the place of saying, God, I can't live this version of the Christian life. I can't live what I think it means to be a Christian. So I give up. If you can do something with my life, you do it. But I'm through trying to make this work. And when I gave up my picture of what Christianity was supposed to be, God started giving me a new picture, and basically telling me that He loved me in spite whether I did all this good stuff for Him or not. And that was a totally new concept to me. I'd heard it in Scripture, but I didn't get it. And that experience in life helped me to get that my life is out of God's grace, and I can't do the Christian life. I can't make it happen out of my natural ability. And that experience really changed me for life. I learned some of my life messages came from that. I learned about grace. I learned that God would take my circumstances and use them to get my heart, and that's been a very important theme in my life. So that experience, although it was very painful at the time for me, has been foundational in my calling, because the things I learned there and the ways I met God there are something that I convey to others every day. So that's what a valley of dependence might look like.